Pancake Dango asks, what's E. coli? Is that like our Carly? Come on, man. E. coli is a bacteria that can cause massive, overwhelming body infection. iCarly is Miranda Cosgrove, okay? Hi, I'm Ken Jeong.
I'm Amanda Rousseau.
I'm Anil Seth.
Hi, I'm astronaut Nicole Stott.
I'm Jill Tarter.
Bill Nye here, once again to answer your science questions. Hollow writes, when will teleportation happen? I don't know. Happens all the time in science fiction, but that's fiction. No, just the information problem alone probably makes teleportation impossible. Converting something like you into a beam of electromagnetic signals, it's very, very unlikely. Just taking you apart and putting you back together would take extraordinary amounts of energy.
So Jolis, is physical affection worth bronchitis? Asking for a friend. I mean, are you French kissing somebody's lung? I don't know what this question is. Look, if you're making out with someone who has a cold, just, be advised. Just be careful, Like, I love my wife, and she is always worth getting bronchitis for. And in fact, we wrote that in our vows.
From Zara, are we saying then that tanning in space would happen just in virtue of being in space because cosmic radiation and unfiltered UV rays? When you're in space, of course, you're above, the bulk of the atmosphere, and that makes it a lot more dangerous to be exposed to the sun's radiation. So we try to protect ourselves from that. For the windows that we do look through, most of them have a UV filter on them, which helps protect us. But there are some windows that don't. So we know in particular what those are, and we try to really limit our time in front of them.
E.T. exists. Oh, I like that. When will we hear from E.T.? And there are lots of hashtags here. I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know if E.T. is out there. I think it's likely. The universe appears to be relatively bio-friendly. We know about lots of planets around other stars. We now know about lots of life forms on this planet that exist in extreme for us, environments. There's a chance. And the only way that we'll know is to look. And when? Can't answer that question.
Watching a ton of 90s music videos today, and I'm wondering where in my brain I've stored all of these really non-essential lyrics, and if I can clear that space for something useful now. I don't know what's non-essential about 90s music videos. That's a central part of my own personality for sure, so I don't want to devote that space to anything else at all. But it's a really good question. How do we store? We seem to be able to remember an enormous amount of information. The adult human brain has about 90 billion neurons. It has about 1,000 times more connections, which means that if you counted one connection every second, it would take you about 3 million years to count them all. There's a lot of connections in the brain. And if you think that a memory is just a particular pattern of connections distributed among a large number of neurons, the number of memories that you could potentially store in a brain is infinite.
The Bishop, or Josh Harris, 25. What is the point of spam emails? Are they profiting from it? What do they gain from spending random, unnecessary emails? When people send out spam emails, they're sending it to thousands and thousands of targets. Say you had 1 million emails sent out, and they're requesting $1. These cyber criminals are expecting that 1% will actually bite. A lot of these cyber criminals will treat this as a business, so it becomes very lucrative for them.
Bill Nye, assuming a perfect scenario where the general disasters don't occur, if the Earth stopped spinning, would we all feel dizzy? I guess so. Not a test you'll probably be able to run.
How long does it take to get to the moon, and how fast can you go in space? Now, this is a really great question. It takes about 2 days to get to the moon, the way we fly to the moon. So we launch off the Earth, we get going really fast, and we circle the Earth, and we do this, what they call slingshot method, of then accelerating ourselves toward and then around the moon. That's all really cool orbital mechanics that goes on there, and it's really neat to me how we can use the gravity and spin of our own planet to accelerate a spaceship off into space. On the space shuttle, we traveled at 17,500 miles an hour. The guys that went to the moon, about 24,000 miles an hour.
Can someone tell me, well, hi, I'm sick after getting a flu shot that's supposed to prevent me from getting sick? 1, question mark 1. God, that's actually a very nice question, because sometimes there is this myth that says I got the flu from the flu shot. That is not the case. If you're already having a cold, okay, and if you get a flu shot, you can get a little bit sick from the combination of having a cold and that flu shot, but you cannot get the flu from a flu shot. You have a better chance of having a weaker flu symptomatology than somebody else who didn't get the flu shot. You should get the flu shot.
This Twitter user, Cloud Opinion, asks, at this point, hackers know everything there is to know about every one of us. Why do we need passwords now? Why keep going to the gym if you're going to die anyways? Passwords are kind of a necessary evil, and hackers really don't know everything about you. It all depends if you put that information out there on the internet.
Tony Phillips writes a climate change question. As it gets hotter, more air conditioning is used, heating up the air even more. Is there a way to cool indoor spaces without heating up the outdoors, especially in cities? Well, Tony, probably not. Because what is the one thing you can count on in this universe? That's right, Tony, the second law of thermodynamics. Heat just spreads out, man. So when you pump the heat out of this room, or the room you're sitting in, putting it outside, the outside gets a little bit warmer. But the scale of it, I hope, surprises you. The amount of heat we pump out of buildings ain't no nothing compared to with the amount of heat that we're holding in by adding greenhouse gases to the Earth's atmosphere. The heat island effect of cities is more from hardscape, paved surfaces. Buildings are not soil, for example, and that's why cities are so hot. The AC thing is a problem, but it's just the hardscape that gets us. And that flippin' second law of thermodynamics. I'm sorry. Well, man, there's nothing we can do out there. We got to deal. It's entropy killing us all.
All right, Joey Pavanelli, is there Wi-Fi in space? Yes, there's Wi-Fi in space. You might not be happy with it because it's not dial-up slow, but it is pretty slow.
The Fermi Paradox. Mathematically, the universe should be teeming with intelligent life. So why don't we see extraterrestrial versions in all directions? Really interesting question. The answer is we've hardly begun to look. Let me give you an example. If that volume of space we need to explore is equal to the volume of all the world's oceans, in 50 plus years, we've observed only about 1 hot tub's worth of the ocean. Maybe it's not so surprising that we haven't detected anything yet. We need to think in terms of cosmic times and not human lifetimes before we decide we're alone because we haven't found anything.
Is face blindness a real thing or just an attention-seeking thing? It's a real thing. There's a condition called prosopagnosia, which is the inability to distinguish between faces. What you find is people with prosopagnosia, they're still able to identify people, but they do it in different ways. They're very good at picking up other cues, like how somebody walks or what clothes they're wearing or what voice sounds like, but they just cannot recognize faces.
This Twitter user, Andrew Cheeky, asks, what will they think of next? Is there anything that has been courted in the last decade that hackers haven't found a vulnerability to do some damage? If you think about your fridge at home being able to connect to the Wi-Fi, or your pressure cooker being able to connect to an app on your phone, a lot of these devices are developed in a way where they're looking for the lowest possible cost of manufacturing. So when they get to the security part, it's kind of like an afterthought. So until things change, we're going to still have these problems with IoT devices.
Michael Marino, wondering if the astronauts on the International Space Station ever get bored. I hope not. I was never bored in space. There's the window to look out, see Earth below you, sharing stories with your crewmates, floating around, flying. And you can even bring things that you enjoy doing on Earth. So I had the chance to paint while I was in space. My crewmates played music in space. This is not a place where you get bored.
Thank you for your questions.
This has been Neuroscience Support.
ET support.
This has been Hacking Support.
I hope you learned a little something about space.
Most of these questions are really good. Some of them absolutely suck, and you should be ashamed of yourselves.